Hey, you guys, it's Rachel Straight with IGI Life Coaching. And today the question is, are you in it to win it? And I'm dead serious here. Are you in it to win it? I mean, you're 150% in. You are not letting go. You are not going to quit. You are going to dig your feet in and you are going to go until you win, win, win. Yeah, let me tell you, that is the worst way to have an argument, right? I mean, when you refuse to let go and things just get heated and heated and heated, next thing you know, something so simple, so small of a discussion turns into something heated. We've got yelling, maybe things throwing, we've got doors slamming, we've got all sorts of stuff going on because both sides are now heated and yelling and both are in it to win it. Have you been there? I mean, have you been a part of a fight like that where neither side is really listening anymore, where every word out of your mouth is just supercharged with anger and hatred? And does it ever resolve? I mean, when it gets that heated, when it is that far, out of the park, do you actually end up getting anywhere with it? I'm willing to bet not, right? So what do we do? I mean, if you were one who is in a relationship where that kind of arguing, that kind of fighting happens frequently, happens a lot, maybe all the time, something has to change. Something has to change. And 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to tell me, yeah, the other person needs to change. But we don't have control over the other person, right? The only person you have control over is yourself. So you have to be willing to do something different so that the spiral, the chaos just doesn't continue. Now, no matter what you do, you still cannot have control over what the other person is going to do. And you might make every effort to do something different, and their response may not follow suit, but it might. And that's kind of the risk you want to take. So if you find yourself in that place again and you feel that heat starting to come up, obviously, just like any fire, the sooner you put it out, the easier it is to put it out. So the challenge isn't so much as, are we going to get to a place where it just never ever gets heated again? Maybe the challenge really is more, can I start catching that fire sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner so that I have a better chance of putting it out before it gets out of control? So I'm going to encourage you, next time you find yourself in that place where things are starting to build up, things aren't going well, that the first thing is just literally just stop. Just stop. Stop talking. Take in some deep breaths. And in your mind, think about the ideal situation. What would you like to do in this moment? And I'm going to encourage you to think of it something like this, but of course it needs to be your own words and it needs to be authentic to your own heart. Something of the sort. I would like to be communicating in love with you. I would love to have a conversation where we are both engaged and listening. So, number one, stop. Just stop talking. Stop responding. Take a deep breath in. Let the other person know that this is not going well and you would love to be talking to them with words of love and having both of you able to hear each other, something of that sort. Most of the time, the arguments aren't because somebody is just being completely ridiculous or that there is no valid conversation to have. Most of the time, there is a valid conversation that needs to happen. But when we get out of control, it very easily rabbit trails into other things, right? We start throwing in bits and pieces of other arguments and other things that have happened, and it just gets out of control. And all of a sudden, the very thing that you started with is like no longer in sight. Can you stop, take that breath, think about how you would really like to be communicating, express that, and take it back to where we started. Okay. And then decide when an appropriate time is to actually start that conversation fresh. Fresh. Totally clear it out. Everything that's just been said in this big argument gets pushed to the side. We've forgiven. We're going to put it aside. Forgiving being a big part of it, right? Forgive them for their anger, for their trouble within the argument. Forgive yourself for your part in the argument and letting it escalate, right? And when is a good time to start fresh? Depending on the situation, it might be right then, after you've both taken that breath, you both have agreed that you want to talk with love to each other. Maybe you can right then and there, just start fresh. Maybe we need time. So maybe it's later on in the day, maybe it's setting a time for the next day, whatever. We're going to put a pin in it. We're going to set it aside. We're going to breathe. If you're a person of faith, then it's going to include also praying and contemplating what the point really is, what the discussion really needs to be about, and where your heart is about that, right? So that when you go back to the conversation, you can be focused on the points that actually matter. And praying that you will have the ears to listen to the other person well. A lot of humility has to take place, a lot of humility, understanding that neither person in this conversation is 100% right, and neither person was 100% wrong. Neither person is perfect, right? So have some humility, knowing that you've made some mistakes as well. You've said things you didn't mean to, you've done things you didn't mean to, you've made mistakes as well. So we're going to be humble, and we're going to admit we don't always do it right either. Okay. But when two people can come together, and love is the foundation of which the conversation is going to take place, then you have each other's best interest in mind. You have each other's best interest, not your own. You might have things that need to be shared, but it is not your own interest that rules the conversation. I'm going to share with you because my heart is really in this for your best interest. And here's why and how I see this being about your best interest. Okay, this could be a big one. People fight all the time. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with couples who fight. I just think that most of the time we fight in an unhealthy way, and things don't ever get truly taken care of, and people get hurt, and those wounds don't ever heal, right? And things aren't resolved in a way where both people get to move forward closer together. We end up further apart. And then when those wounds are not healing, and we're not going back and administering love to the pain that's been caused, right? Then that division just continues to go and go and go. We should be able to argue, have some disagreements, and come closer together by resolving that together, having each other's best interest in mind. Okay. Ponder on this a little. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions. There'll be a link down below where you can submit a question or even an idea. If there's something that you would love to talk about on this channel, then submit it. Let me know, and I'm glad to talk about it. Okay, so keep this in mind. Next time you feel things getting heated, next time you need to start a conversation that you know might get heated, right? Prepare yourself with this in mind, and we will talk again soon. See you next time. Like, share, and subscribe.